outlawed by Caesar before the birth of Christ, banned in France in 1681, stolen by Hitler during World War II. What you are about to discover is the tale of an asset so controversial, so coveted, that it's still cloaked in mystery today. Modern pundits scorn it, the rich love it, government all but censors it. It is the world's most notorious asset. This is the story of one of the least understood, yet most valuable assets in history. The individuals who possess it, even those who have stumbled onto it, see their wealth and their fortunes flourish. But it's not a tale of gold, silver, stocks, bonds, or real estate, and its roots go much deeper than Bitcoin or any of the latest financial inventions. No, the secret we're going to uncover today traces its roots all the way back to the dawn of recorded history, to an ancient code written more than 3,800 years ago. And even though this asset appears 500 years before the Ten Commandments, it's been scorned throughout much of history. In ancient Rome, for example, Julius Caesar feared this asset would threaten his rule, and he tried to shut it down. In the 19th century, the Church called it a speculation repugnant to the law of God and man. But despite these obstacles, many of the world's elite have long sworn by its power. John Jacob Astor of Waldorf Astoria fame was considered to be the richest person in the world in the early 20th century. He held $1.7 million in this investment when he died aboard the Titanic, a sum worth $54 million in today's money. President Franklin Roosevelt invested over $500,000 in it. And many researchers even believe the Rockefeller family has serious ties to this investment. So too the Rothschilds. Perhaps that's why there's been renewed interest in this mysterious asset. After the housing crisis of '07 and the stock crash of '08, many people have started looking for safe places outside of Wall Street to store and grow their cash. For those who know it, this asset is perhaps the safest and most profitable store of wealth ever created. It's become a crucial part of the U.S. financial system. Banks and large corporations have poured billions into it since the financial crisis. Today, more than half of U.S. banks have claimed a stake in this asset. But it's just as powerful in the hands of ordinary investors. In fact, since it predates the tax code, you don't have to report this asset to the IRS. It can let almost anyone retire 100% tax-free. Even better, the major companies that issue this asset have paid out now for over 122 consecutive years. And over the last 2 decades, it's grown at a faster annual rate than the stock market, once taxes are accounted for. But despite all this, and the fact it could be the only salvation left for millions of retirees, the government makes it all but impossible for the average American to learn about this asset, placing tight restrictions on its advertising. In several countries around the world, this investment is still banned to this very day. So what is this mysterious asset? It's gone by several different names over the centuries, and it has taken several different forms. To fully grasp its power, we must travel back 4,000 years to one of the richest civilizations that ever existed. The first people to understand the need for an asset that protects your wealth. The Babylonians. Nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what is now modern-day Iraq, Babylon has long been considered one of the richest civilizations on earth. The name itself means Gate of the Gods, a testament to the wealth within that ancient kingdom. Most people today remember the Babylonians for their hanging gardens, still considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Now, although these gardens have been lost to time, the Babylonians did leave behind something much more valuable. They revealed their wealth secrets to us. That is, they were the first civilization to show us how to use money to make even more money. Perhaps that explains why they were the wealthiest civilization of their era. They built an extensive trade empire that stretched from India to Turkey. While other ancient civilizations, like the Egyptians, considered money-making a job fit for peasants, the Babylonians were already creating an asset that is still building fortunes today. Then, as now, this investment allowed ordinary citizens to attain wealth and profits that were once available only to the elite, and it only required a little bit of capital to get started. It's not gold or silver or any other metal. These would not be used as money until hundreds of years later. And even though Babylon had a very early version of Wall Street in the city of Ur, this investment predates stocks, bonds, or any other asset you might recognize. In fact, part of the Babylonian wealth-building formula still survives today in the writings of Hammurabi, Babylon's greatest king. It's inscribed on a block of black diorite rock. A near-complete version of it is on display in Paris. Here's a look at it. It's located on the ground floor of the Louvre, in the Richelieu wing. Known today as the Code of Hammurabi, historians believe it was written around 1950 B.C. It contains 282 paragraphs in total, including several rules of life that we still recognize today. Perhaps the most famous of these rules is Clause 196, which reads, "If a man has destroyed the eye of a man of the gentleman class, they shall destroy his eye." Today, we know this as the saying, "An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth." Of course, this and many other of these laws seem primitive to us today, which helps explain why the most powerful lesson from these scriptures, a principle behind many of history's greatest fortunes, is still virtually ignored. What can we learn from the Babylonians? Well, one key to their immense wealth was the built-in safety of their investments. We know that the Babylonians prized safety of their investments above all else. They made sure they would get their money back, no matter what happened around them. Wars, natural disaster, theft. There were many ways for the average investor to lose money, just like today. But 3,600 years before Wall Street traded its first stock, the Babylonians had a better grasp of safety than the average financial advisor today. For instance, Clause 101 of Hammurabi's Code protects anyone who invested in trade expeditions.
If the trader has not seen prosperity, he shall return the money he took to the investor.
In other words, investors made money if the expedition was a success, but they still got their money back, even if it was a failure. This safety was literally carved in stone. No broker would give you that kind of guarantee today. Another of Hammurabi's laws dealt with a type of safe deposit box, with a level of protection you won't find in today's banks. If a man has stored his corn in another man's house and a loss occurs, the owner of the house must double the corn which has disappeared and give it to the owner of the corn. King Hammurabi knew that safety and prosperity go together hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, and his laws worked. According to economist K.V. Nagarajan, Hammurabi made the people safe and prosperous again. His subjects even referred to him as the Good Shepherd. He was admired in a way that is difficult to imagine for any politician living today. Even though many of the Babylonian secrets have been lost to time, Hammurabi's code endures. In fact, scholars today believe this code unlocks a secret that's made people wealthy for nearly 4,000 years. It's the source of an investment formula rooted in the twin pillars of safety and prosperity, which made the Babylonians so wealthy. Some researchers refer to this method as the Babylonian money code, in honor of Hammurabi's own text. For the past 4 millennia, it has quietly protected and grown personal fortunes. And even though it's open to virtually anyone today, regardless of class and wealth, Governments have tried to shut it down repeatedly throughout history. To see why, let's leave the Babylonian era and jump ahead 2,000 years to ancient Rome under the reign of Caesar. When we return, we'll see why this code was a threat to the throne and how ordinary Americans are using this asset to create new fortunes in volatile times. It seems politicians have always been afraid of the power of this investment because it grows money outside of the taxman's grasp. Many political leaders have tried to shut it down, but they've never been able to erase its legacy. For example, in Roman times, a type of investment society known as the Collegia began to put Hammurabi's secret into practice. These groups became a popular form of retirement planning for the middle class. Citizens would meet monthly and make a payment to the Collegia, similar to the way investors make automatic contributions to their retirement accounts today. But what started as a simple type of financial planning became something much more powerful, ultimately threatening the rule of Caesar himself. You see, over time, these monthly payments became a powerful asset. The middle and upper classes figured out how to use this cash flow to build wealth and pay for luxuries. Caesar even threatened to shut down the entire system, since he feared the upper classes were becoming too rich and powerful. He made these groups apply for special permission to continue their investments. But Caesar made one exception that still affects us today. He let everyday citizens continue their meetings. They could continue to invest in this asset, and that knowledge survived through the centuries, evolving into the Babylonian money code as we know it today. Those who grasped its power built countless fortunes and saved themselves from the depths of financial despair. But the key question is, does it still work? The evidence tells us the Babylonian money code is more effective now in present-day America than it ever was for the ancients, and it continues to work no matter what happens in the stock market, or to oil prices, or even to the economy at large. For example, we learned about a 35-year-old Chicago mother named Doris Christopher who stumbled onto this code in 1980, during the longest recession since World War II. With the help of the code, she turned $3,000 into a fortune worth at least $1.5 billion. That's how much Warren Buffett paid for The Pampered Chef, the company she built with this mysterious asset. Ray Kroc had similar success. He used what we now call the Babylonian money code to build McDonald's into a 7,700 restaurant empire at the time of his death. Today, the Golden Arches are seen in 119 countries around the world. But in 1955, when Ray was cash-strapped and struggling, he turned to this secret source of cash to keep the doors open. In fact, thanks to the cash flow from this asset, he didn't need to draw a salary during the first 8 years of building McDonald's. He even had enough left over to pay the salaries of key managers he wanted for his team. But this power isn't restricted to the rich and famous. Thousands of ordinary people have used this code to transform their lives. Like one Arkansas pastor who used it to save his church from crippling debt. Before turning to the code, he had borrowed more than $500,000 to pay for necessary repairs to his church. But within 4 years of discovering this asset, he had paid off over half the loan. That's more than $250,000 in 4 years, all from harnessing the power of the Babylonian money code. In our research, we also found a Midwesterner named Dave Osborne, who earned more from this ancient secret in 6 years than he had gained from 2 decades of funding his 401k. Dave discovered something amazing. Like 401ks and IRAs, this investment grows your money tax-free. Even better, it doesn't carry early withdrawal penalties the way most retirement plans do. Could this be why those in power have always tried to hide this asset from the general public, while they put millions of dollars into it for themselves? We'll see who in a minute. You see, On one hand, politicians have feared this secret becoming too widely known and have tried to suppress this knowledge throughout history. For example, we've already seen how Caesar outlawed this asset to keep ordinary citizens from becoming too rich and powerful. But he's not the only one. Louis XIV also banned it in France in the 17th century. And more than a century later, religious leaders also felt threatened by this powerful asset. In fact, the Church called it a speculation repugnant to the laws of God and man. Not because it was dangerous or risky, but because it worked. They said it took the decision of who would receive riches out of God's hands and put it in the hands of ordinary citizens. Even Hitler was afraid of its power. Although it's widely reported he stole artwork from thousands of Jews in Nazi Germany, almost nobody knows that he stole up to $20 billion of this type of asset as well. It's bigger than gold, it's bigger than personal jewelry, it's bigger than bank accounts, according to the World Jewish Congress. This money is still being returned to the rightful owners nearly 70 years after World War II ended. Now, you might think this knowledge would be open to us in this modern age, but politicians seem as desperate as ever to hide the Babylonian money code from those who need it most. We discovered that all 50 states have laws that heavily restrict advertising this investment to the public. In many states, it's all but illegal to advertise that it's tax-free. One state even banned using the word safe to describe it, even though the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and others have publicly noted its safety. No wonder this asset is still a mystery to most investors. In fact, one expert estimates only 1 out of 1,000 Americans have used the code. But if you ignore what politicians say and watch what they do, you'll discover they use the code to build and protect their own wealth without paying taxes. They even carved out a special exemption for it in Title 26 of the U.S. Tax Code. By law, the IRS can't touch this money when set up correctly. According to public records, Hillary Clinton collects more than $10,000 every year from this secret, and that's all tax-free. Mark Warner, the wealthiest senator in the country, also puts his money here. He holds over $1.5 million in this type of asset, tax-free. Same with John McCain, Joe Biden, and dozens of other high-profile politicians. They've poured millions into this asset while forcing the rest of the country to pay a larger share of income to the government each year. It's one of the biggest smokescreens in America today. But even though our politicians would prefer you not know about this asset, any American can harness its power. In fact, we found several folks who were willing to open up about their experience with the code. People like Todd Baines, who told us he's able to build wealth without worrying about what's happening in the stock market. Our team also found a gentleman named Kevin Oliver, who called this asset an unbelievable wealth-building tool. He said, "My only regret is I did not learn about this in my 20s. What a mistake." We discovered dozens of stories similar to Todd's and Kevin's, which prove that the code works today. Even the church has changed its stance. In fact, the Diocese of Richmond now accepts this asset as a gift. But sadly, despite these proven facts and its now 262-year history in America, the Babylonian money code is still scorned by modern pundits today. Consider Susie Orman, one of America's most recognized financial gurus. She's authored 6 books on wealth and personal finance. She's also had her own show on CNBC for a dozen years. So what does she have to say about this investment, which currently pays 4% a year tax-free? Here's what she said in 2008.
Stop. There isn't a friend in the world, not one friend in the world, that if it was a true friend would recommend you buy.
Number one, I don't think you have a financial advisor there. I think you have an idiot.
It turns out that most so-called gurus don't look past the stock market when giving financial guidance. Worse yet, some don't even follow their own advice. For example, Ms. Orman told a guest on her show that same year The biggest mistake that you will make is if you stop contributing to the stock market. But that's not what she does with her own money now. She told the New York Times back in May she invests in municipal bonds and has just 3% of her own net worth in stocks. So the question is, how could an investment this safe, with over 100 years of continuous payouts that aren't tied to stocks, be so misunderstood? Part of the reason is that this asset is off the grid. At its core, the Code is a private agreement between investors and the companies that provide it. Investors don't even need to report it to the IRS. That's why many on Wall Street and some of Hollywood's biggest stars store their money in this type of asset. For example, at the time of his death, comedian John Belushi had a 7-figure fortune safely stored in this asset, and Andy Warhol had over $4.5 million here. In fact, this asset is so secret that big banks, which have over $139 billion invested in it, don't even have to declare this on their annual reports. According to the FDIC, it only needs to be listed in the vague category of other assets. Bottom line, even though this investment is simple to set up, almost nobody has figured out how it works, and the few who have, like politicians and the wealthy elite, would prefer that you not know about it. And that's why we are revealing this secret today, to balance the half-truths you may have heard in the media. Conventional sources either don't know or won't tell you about the best way to grow your wealth in America today. That's because they're beholden to advertisers, which are often large mutual fund companies with products to pitch. The truth is, you don't need to rely on the stock market to grow rich, and you don't need to settle for next to nothing in your bank accounts to keep your money safe. All you really need is the right information. That's why Tom Dyson, a research analyst and chartered forensic accountant, has sponsored this special presentation. You see, Tom co-founded an independent financial research firm built on the idea that a great retirement relies on safe, secure income streams. And because this firm, the Palm Beach Research Group, is 100% subscriber-supported, he doesn't care about pleasing anyone except his readers. That gives him the freedom to explore opportunities that don't get mentioned in newspapers and glossy magazines, like today's topic. Tom believes the Babylonian money code is the answer for millions of Americans who are planning for retirement, because the days of putting your savings into a bank account or mutual fund and living off the interest are over. There aren't any CDs that pay 5% these days, or anything close to it. And no one else, not your broker, your accountant, or your financial advisor, can show you a way to earn 20 times more interest than the average savings account without giving up any of the safety you expect from your bank. You see, just like your bank account, this asset is protected by statute. For example, here in Florida, this asset is guaranteed up to $300,000. New York guarantees up to $500,000. That's up to $250,000 more protection than you'd get from an FDIC-insured bank account, guaranteed by law. But unlike your bank account, this money grows tax-free. And even better, you can access your money anytime without penalty. That alone sets the Babylonian money code apart from your IRA or 401k. In fact, Tom thinks so highly of this asset, he's investing $400,000 in it over the next several years. Here's what he told our research team.
I plan to invest almost $500,000 of my own money into the code. It's safer than stocks, it's safer than bonds. In fact, it's safer than any other income investment I've ever researched. And trust me, I've researched them all. I've already set this up for 2 of my kids, and I tried to set it up for the 3rd kid, but she was only 3 months old and they wouldn't do it. But it will be in place by next year, and I guarantee you all 3 of my kids will be multi-millionaires by the time they leave college. I tell all my friends and family to do this, and if you were to cut me a check right now for $1 million, I'd put the whole thing into this investment. It's that good.
Tom embodies the safety-first philosophy behind everything they do at Palm Beach Research Group. A former banker at Salomon Brothers and Citibank, Tom saw firsthand how Wall Street puts its own interests ahead of clients. He even saw his own father lose a big chunk of his nest egg during the Lehman Brothers collapse. These events inspired Tom to dedicate nearly every working hour to finding ultra-safe ways to build income for those he cares about, including his readers. For instance, back in December 2008, during the heart of the worst crash since the Great Depression, Tom told 50,000 subscribers how to collect a guaranteed minimum of $2,025 without buying stocks. Same story in January 2009, as the market was collapsing to a new low. Anyone who followed his recommendations could have pocketed a minimum of $1,533 that month. No wonder today more than 71,000 retirees and investors from 104 countries subscribe to his monthly briefings to hear his ideas for generating safe income in today's markets. Many of these folks say the Babylonian money code has changed their lives, like Kevin Oliver, who I mentioned earlier. He expects to receive several million from this asset. A grandmother named Ginger Phillips is using it to help her family get wealthy. She says,
I'm so grateful. They will be able to grow their assets in a tax-free, safe atmosphere, out of the reach of those who want to redistribute wealth. You're truly a gift, an answer to a prayer, and I thank you with all my heart.
A retired nurse named Linda also talked about her first experience using the code. She says,
I had no idea what I was doing, really, but I have never lost a penny. Long story short, the $10,000 is now worth $22,000 plus.
Tom receives notes like these almost daily, but we can only scratch the surface of this amazing secret in today's video. That's why the Palm Beach Research Group has decided to put all its findings in a concise manuscript. They call it the Babylonian Money Code, the 3,800-year proven secret to a tax-free fortune. Inside, you'll learn how to get started. As I mentioned earlier, this asset has nothing to do with stocks and ordinary dividends. In fact, you don't even need to set up a brokerage account. This short manuscript will show you who to contact, including phone numbers, what to tell them, and even how to get set up with as little as $1,000. How the code works. First thing to remember is that this investment flies under the radar, so there isn't anything to report to the IRS. Yet, it still pays income that's up to 20 times what you'd receive in regular bank accounts, and that return is guaranteed in writing. One company that oversees this asset has paid dividends since 1872. It paid out over $5.2 billion in 2013 alone. Another company has paid continuously for 160 years. In fact, thanks to the protection built into the code, you can see at a glance just how quickly your fortune will grow over time. Inside the Babylonian Money Code, you'll find easy-to-follow graphs that will show you how your wealth will grow in the coming years. You'll see an accurate projection of your wealth, 5, 10, even 20 or more years into the future. These gains are predictable because they aren't tied to the state of the economy. Imagine how much better you'll feel not having to worry about what will happen in the markets or what the Federal Reserve will do next. Instead, you'll be able to spend that time with your grandkids or on the golf course. Also, you won't need to make adjustments for taxes because there aren't any when you set it up right. The code has remained tax-free for Americans for more than a century, since Congress passed the income tax law in 1913. You'll see your wealth grow faster each year, since Uncle Sam won't get his cut of your savings. It's all spelled out for you in the Babylonian Money Code. This manuscript is designed to get you quickly up to speed. You can go through it in about an hour. After digesting this material, you'll be among the 1 in 1,000 Americans privy to this secret. But before you accept your free copy, you should know a few more details about how you can supercharge the wealth you'll build using the code. You see, we've only gone over a few of the key advantages of this special money code, But the fact is, there are several we could not get into. One, in fact, is especially powerful. It's called the Code Multiplier. It's a way to combine the Babylonian money code with one of Warren Buffett's favorite strategies, built upon the timeless principle of compound interest. If that sounds boring or unexciting, consider this. Tom's editor-in-chief, Tim Middlestad, expects to generate $2.3 million from this one technique alone over his lifetime. And he says he'll do it by putting just an extra $5,000 into the Babylonian money code. Tim is so committed to this idea that he recently invited 250 premium subscribers here to Palm Beach to see exactly how it works in a live presentation. And this was the only subject he discussed that day, because it's that important. Those readers paid $495 to see this information. But because this content is so crucial and could turn an already great investment into an unstoppable force capable of generating millions of dollars, Tim and Tom have agreed to turn their presentation into a special DVD and send it at no cost to you. All they ask in return is that you take a modest first step, entirely at their risk, to show you're committed to building your wealth. You see, the Babylonian money code and the Code Multiplier strategy are just two of the income-producing ideas Tom and his team have uncovered. He publishes his best ideas in a 12 to 15-page, easy-to-follow monthly bulletin called the Palm Beach Letter. These briefings contain everything you need to start generating safe income, whether you're still planning for retirement or have already stopped working. Now, you may be wondering, if the Babylonian money code is as good as Tom claims, why would I need any other ideas? That's a fair question, and I think it's best answered by this comment from reader James Barnes. The major problem is, what does one do with all the extra cash being generated? It's a great problem to have. As your wealth grows quickly by using the code, you'll soon want to start generating even more safe income streams, generating cash upon cash for as long as you want it. Tom believes it can be a good idea to spread out into other wealth-building investments, such as stocks, as long as you maintain a strict focus on safety. Let me give you an example. In one recent report, Tom told his readers about a hidden dividend that has paid out as much as 230% more income than the average S&P 500 stock. But he estimates 99.9% of investors know nothing about it, since these dividends are almost never reported on financial websites such as CNBC or MarketWatch. Tom shared two safe stocks that have made a combined 27 dividend payments to shareholders in the past 2 years. That's more than one dividend payment a month. He typed everything up into a concise 20-page report and sent it by email to his list of readers. The name of that report, by the way, is Fifth Payouts, How to Boost Your Income 503% Overnight. Tom asked me to share this report freely with the viewers of this program. More on this in a minute. These are the types of ideas you'll find every month in the Palm Beach Letter. In the 4 years Tom has been sending out his monthly briefings, readers say they've achieved some amazing results. Like Robert K. from Missouri, for example. He writes, I put $50,000 in your recommendations on July 1st, 2012, and am now up about 50% in the 18 months. I am very happy I subscribed to your newsletters. Thank you. And Australian subscriber Lindsay K. says, in the 15-month period since July 2012, my net worth has increased by 157% to almost $500,000. Haven't lost a cent anywhere. Tom was also thrilled to get this note from Stephanie A. Not only am I wealthier than I was in 2013, thanks to your publications, I'm having so much more fun as an investor. The thought of retirement no longer concerns me. Thanks to what I've learned from your service, your advice and education have been life-changing, and not just financially. Thank you again so much. Tom is confident he can help you as well. even if you have never invested before in your life. But you don't need to take this on faith. Tom will send you everything we've discussed so far, the entire Babylonian Wealth Bundle, simply for taking a no-risk look at the Palm Beach letter. With your one-year trial subscription, you'll have 12 full months to determine if this research is a good fit for you. That's 12 months to review every idea you've heard here today and put them to work building your own fortune, at absolutely no risk to you. Here's everything you'll receive. The Babylonian Money Code, the 3,800-year secret to a tax-free fortune. You'll want to read this first, since it will form the bedrock of your wealth-building plan for years to come. This manuscript gives simple step-by-step instructions that will get you up to speed in an hour or less. The Code Multiplier bonus DVD. Others paid $495 to access this information. It's the most powerful wealth compounding strategy Tom's group has ever seen. It uses Buffett's secret to make your money grow exponentially faster. It's so powerful, in fact, that Tom is setting this up for his 3 children. He says this strategy alone will set them up to be multimillionaires. 5th payouts, how to boost your income 503% overnight. Soon after you start using the code and the Code Multiplier, you'll have a decision to make. Spend all the money that's coming in now, or invest a portion of it to collect even more income for you and your family. In most cases, Tom recommends you keep building your wealth and income for as long as possible. This special report will show you how. It names 3 investments with hidden dividends that are 3.3 times greater than the S&P, including one with a giant 7% annual yield. You'll also get 12 monthly issues of the Palm Beach letter, delivered on the first Thursday of the month. In these 12 to 15-page reports, Tom will update you on any important developments, including new techniques he's discovered for generating additional wealth and income. The Palm Beach Daily, delivered to your inbox each weekday morning. This is where Tom and his team will notify you of any updates to their recommendations, as well as any important market developments and urgent investment opportunities. And if immediate action is required, they'll send an email with clear instructions. You'll never be left in the dark. Dedicated support. Each report is explained clearly and simply, so you can get up to speed right away. But if you still have questions about the finer points of the Babylonian Money Code, expert help is only a phone call away. Tom's hand-picked and friendly customer support staff can answer most of your questions within minutes. Full access to the Palm Beach Letter archives. You'll also get complete access to past issues, special presentations on the Babylonian Money Code, and answers to frequently asked questions. In recent months, Tom's discussed how to start the code on a shoestring budget, as little as $80 a month, how to set your children or grandchildren up financially for life, and even how to catch up if you're already close to retirement. In short, you'll get everything you need to build wealth and income from the ground up, without hassle and without worry. It doesn't matter if you're retired or still working, whether you already have more than $1 million in wealth or still have a ways to go. The Babylonian Money Code worked 3,800 years ago, creating one of the wealthiest civilizations on Earth, and it will work for you too. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering how much all this will cost. It's much less than you might think. When you consider that 250 people recently paid up to $495 each to hear a live presentation on the Code Multiplier, which you'll receive on DVD to watch at your convenience, and that a one-year subscription to the Palm Beach Letter normally sells for $199, not to mention the hidden dividend report, Palm Beach Daily, and unlimited access to the Palm Beach Letter archives, worth $299, you can see the full price for this bundle adds up to almost $1,000. Considering just one of these ideas could help you grow your wealth by over $50,000, like it did for Lindsay Kay, who I mentioned earlier, you can see why the Babylonian Wealth Bundle would still be a bargain at this full price. But through this special presentation today, you won't pay anything close to that, In fact, you can receive the entire bundle for even less than you'd pay for dinner for two at a modest restaurant. Before I tell you today's special price, reserved only for viewers of this program, there is still one more item in the bundle we haven't discussed, a second newsletter that you'll receive absolutely free. You see, as you start building wealth, even with a program as simple and turnkey as this, it helps to have support. And to assist you during those first critical steps, the Palm Beach Research Group has arranged something special for you. The group's co-founder, an 8-figure entrepreneur named Mark Ford, will be your mentor on the path to wealth. He'll show you how to become richer every year, just like he has. While other gurus lost their shirts in the 2008 crisis, Mark made millions. Mark has one of the savviest financial minds in America. He's started or consulted with dozens of companies. He's written New York Times best-selling books on business and productivity. But he reserves his best tips for readers of his Creating Wealth service, the only place he currently publishes his monthly recommendations. In recent months, Mark has shown readers why most Americans file for Social Security 8 years too late, where to find 15 to 25% returns, mostly tax-free, without banks or brokers, the real cause of the real estate collapse and banking crisis, and how you could have predicted them in advance, why Wall Street is dead wrong about inflation hedges, and the simple step you can take now to protect yourself. Hint, it's not gold. And much more. Normally, a subscription to Creating Wealth would cost $199, and it's worth every penny, especially when you consider Mark has personally mentored over a dozen people from $0 to $1 million plus net worth. But Mark doesn't want you to miss out on his recommendations and the extra bit of hand-holding that helps many readers start building wealth with the code. So he's including a 1-year subscription to Creating Wealth absolutely free with the Babylonian Wealth Bundle. When we lay it all out, you'll see you're getting a complete wealth plan. All you have to do is follow the simple steps that are set out for you. Take a look at everything you'll receive. The Babylonian Money Code manuscript, the Code Multiplier DVD, the Hidden Dividend Bonus Report, not to mention 12 monthly issues of the Palm Beach Letter and a complimentary subscription to Mark Ford's Creating Wealth. All told, a value of over $1,000 that comes with a 100% money-back guarantee, so you can take a full year to decide if this is right for you, without risking a penny. You can see why Tom, Mark, and their team are almost embarrassed to offer all this for only $49. But the simple fact is, they want to build a long-term partnership with their readers, and the best way they know to do that is with an offer that's too good to pass up. They know once you see how simple it is to build your wealth foundation with the blueprint they'll send you today, you'll want to stay for the long haul. So now that we've covered those details, Tom just needs to know where to send your Babylonian Wealth Bundle. You'll find a special link below this video that will take you straight to the member acceptance form. You'll have one more chance to review everything we've discussed here. Once you accept, you'll receive an electronic version of the Babylonian Money Code and the Code Multiplier report right away before they drop it in the mail. And remember, if at any time during your 365-day trial you decide this isn't for you, just give Tom or a member of his support staff a call at 888-501-2598. They'll promptly return your money, no questions asked. But based on feedback I've seen from thousands of happy readers, I don't think that will happen. As one reader, Brad M., put it, "I just want to let you know I've been with you since day one. With all of your winners, I think you guys have the best track record I have seen in any newsletter. Superb. Take that first step today. Just click the link below to get started." Thank you for watching. Oh, and one last thing. Tom has just placed an order for 500 copies of the legendary best-selling book, The Richest Man in Babylon. If he hears from you in time, he'll include a copy in your Babylonian Wealth Bundle, along with everything else mentioned above. Tom says this is one of his favorite books. It covers several timeless wealth-building principles in a series of short and entertaining parables that take place during the height of the Babylonian civilization, where the Babylonian money code got its start. If you haven't read it, this little book can change your life. And if you have read it, give it to someone you care about. They will be grateful. Here are just a couple of the unsolicited reviews I found online. The principles became habits for me. My wealth escalated at a very rapid rate. I am continually amazed at how a book so small can be so powerful. Should be mandatory reading. This is a book you'll want to pass on to your grandchildren, since there is a very good chance the wealth you're building will outlive you. But again, Tom needs to hear from you quickly. With just 500 copies on order, he expects to run out quickly. Click the link below to get started.